Welcome. My name is Rick Naples. How do you price your home for sale? There's all kinds of numbers that are out there. You know what the neighbor down the street might be selling their house for, or maybe you heard of somebody that just recently sold a house, something like yours. But where do you come up with the value or the price of your home? You can go online now. There are a lot of different estimates you can get by putting some numbers into a computer, and it will spit out an average value of what your home might be worth. You can hire an appraiser to come and take a look at your home and give you an appraised value. You can even have a realtor come out and do what's called a comparative market analysis. But which ones are accurate? Which ones can you rely on? What's the true value, or where should you price your home? We'll take a look at that today, and we'll also talk about some of the claims that realtors make, whether they're truisms or stretching the truth a little bit. This is The Real Estate Show. Welcome to The Real Estate Show. My name is Rick Naples. Today we're going to talk about pricing your home for sale. Now, I on The Real Estate Show many times have talked about ways that realtors do it by looking at recently sold homes of style, number of bedrooms, equal square footage, and so on and so forth, and adding their experience as far as what a market will bear for the pricing of a home. But I've also said on The Real Estate Show that there are three prices to every home. There's the price the seller wants to get, there's the price that the buyer is going to pay, and then there's also that unknown number that the bank's going to put on the property in order for the buyer to get the mortgage. And the idea is to hopefully have all those numbers come together so you have an agreeable purchase contract and a buyer has the ability to obtain the mortgage on the home in order to close. There's also a number of different things that have been developed over the years to make it easy for consumers to try and find or estimate a value on their home. They're called mathematic algorithms. You see these on a lot of different websites. Websites like Realtor.com, Zip Realty, Zillow, where you can put in the description of your home and it will spit out an estimate of value based on what it's finding through the assessor's offices of your town. There's an issue with those computerized estimates, however, because they take out the visual factors. You don't know, for instance, if that number is truly reflective of your home. You may have done things to your home that other people have not, as far as updates are concerned. Those new kitchens, those new bathrooms, adding a deck, adding another room, whatever it might be. It also doesn't take into account the curb appeal of the home and the neighborhood that the home is in. So there's a lot of different art type factors that are involved in order to come up with the pricing of a home and what it's going to sell for. But the internet and those estimates could be a good place to start. Again, as I said, all those do is they pull from the different assessors' offices of what recent sales are. Now, some of the problems that I've run into when I'm talking to a potential seller as a realtor is they'll have a value that they got an estimate with online, and that value does not reflect their specific style of home. It's pulled recent sales of homes of maybe equal square footage and number of bedrooms and baths, but it's looked at different styles. It's giving you a price on a home maybe on your Cape, but comparing it to colonials. Or maybe it's a colonial and it's looking at raised ranches in the mix. I've even seen some situations where you've had a contemporary style home mixed into the factors of trying to price a colonial style home. And this is where the art of pricing a home comes into play. This is where the experience of a realtor who's out there in the market and looking at dozens of homes every year and knowing their marketplace can add their knowledge and their expertise in pricing a home so it will sell. Appraisers also look at a number of different factors that these algorithms on the internet don't look at. They're going to look at the influence of the market area. They're going to look at what it would cost to rebuild that house. They're looking at a different number of approaches to come up with an estimated value. And that becomes very important, folks, because if you've ever applied for a mortgage, the appraised value of the home is what the mortgage company is going to look at in order to justify the loan with the other factors that they do on that particular home. So there's an appraised value of a home. And then also, as I said, there's the comparative market analysis that the realtor is going to do. The goal is, in any case, when you're trying to price your home, is to have a price or a number that you're looking for that is fair to the market area, that a buyer is going to be willing to pay, and that a bank is going to be willing to put a mortgage on. Been many studies done as far as the price of a home, and you have to wonder sometimes why these studies come out to the same type of percentages all the time. What I mean by that is the National Association of Realtors, when it looks at sales of homes over the previous year, it seems that the number or the estimate that comes up all the time is somewhere around the 96 to 97% of the asking price. Now, my 2 cents in adding to that, quite honestly, folks, is if you take into account that in some cases the buyer wants to negotiate their closing costs, or if after a home inspection there are some issues found where the price or credit or something is negotiated that lowers the original asking price, you'll have that sales price that lands somewhere around, as I said, 96, 97% of what the asking price is. The key is to make sure that you're pricing the home to begin with in an area of which the most amount of buyers will come out and look at the home, and that if they do make an offer, that offer is realistic and that offer will be acceptable by a bank. So again, you get to the close. A lot of talk about why would I use a realtor? Why am I going to spend the money to hire an appraiser? Why don't I just come up with a number based on these algorithms I can find on the internet, a number that works for me, a number I'd like to get on my home, and just sell the home on my own. Thus, I don't have to worry about consultations, I don't have to spend money, I don't have to hire a realtor and then worry about the commissions that I have to pay, and so on and so forth. Every year, the National Association of Realtors looks at the performance of home sales, not only how many homes are selling and what they're selling for, but how those homes are getting sold. They look at the comparisons of homes where the seller has gone on their own, which is called the for sale by owner, or the FSBO. We call them FSBOs in our industry for short. And they look at that in comparison to people that may use what they call a discount house or a split services type real estate agency. That's where instead of paying a full commission amount for a full service agency, they're only paying for those parts of the service they want to use. And then comparing that to when a realtor comes out and lists a home at their normal commission fee. And I have to mention here too, folks, remember, commissions are negotiable. When a realtor comes out and they see you and they're talking about putting your home on the market and you come up with a price, the next step is to talk to the realtor about what their commissionable amount is and how that commission is charged and what it includes. Some of the realtors will actually provide their sellers with what they call a marketing list. It puts in writing what the realtor's duties are and what the realtor is going to do in order to help get that home sold. It's very important. It's also important that the seller also looks at the contract when they're listing their home so they understand what their responsibilities are as far as preparing the home for the market, when a showing of the house is going to go on, when negotiations come up for a contract, and so on and so forth. So there's a number of different things that get involved when you're looking at putting the home on the market. But getting back to what I was saying, when the National Association of Realtors did its analysis on homes that were sold on their own successfully and homes that were sold through a realtor, it found in its 2016 analysis of home buyers and sellers that 89% of homes were successfully sold by using a realtor. The rest of them were homes that were sold by a seller on their own, and most of that time it was because they already knew somebody who was going to buy their home, whether they were selling to a relative or to a friend or through a contact or whatever it might be. It was pretty much a done deal, and they really didn't have to go out there and market the home. It was found that also, interestingly enough, that only 8% of the sales that were out there were from not only for sale by owners, but from people that were using the split services or the discount houses. So when you look at the percentages that are out there as to actually what's going on and what gets the home sold, it turns out, as always, you get more money in a shorter amount of time by going the full service route and using a realtor. This is a portion of the real estate show I call Story Time with Rick Naples. I get to tell stories about the different experiences that either I've had as a realtor or stories that are told to me by other realtors when I'm out and about. The story I'm going to tell now, I call it The Wrong House. As a realtor, you see a number of different houses, and sometimes you have the opportunity to show houses that are either in a new development or it could be in an older development where the houses are pretty much what we call cookie cutter style. They're homes that all look the same. And the only way you can really tell them apart is either by the number that's assigned to the house or because of the realtor sign that's out in front of it. Well, this particular story involves going out to show a house which was in that kind of situation. Now, there was no sign out in front of the home for security reasons or either because the house was just newly listed. There was no sign. The only thing there was to see was the style of the house. And unfortunately, this home looked like many of the other homes that were on the street. So the realtor went up to the door, made a courtesy knock. The door was answered. The individual said, what do you need? The realtor introduced themselves. They said, I'm here to show the home. The person said, oh yeah, great, come on in. They walked into the home with their buyer. They looked at the home, subsequently did their thing and left. Later on, it was discovered that that home wasn't actually the home for sale. It happened to be the house next door. I recently pulled an article off the internet that I thought was quite interesting because it's right to the point. There are 3 major claims that some realtors will make to the public when they're soliciting trying to get listings. And they're kind of stretches of the truth. They're accurate in some ways, but inaccurate in other ways. So as a seller that's looking to put their home on the market, and when you're interviewing realtors, if a realtor says a statement similar to the 3 that I'm going to mention now, you might want to ask a couple of questions and ask them to quantify what those particular claims are all about. One of the more common ones that you'll hear from realtors when they're soliciting a home to list is they'll tell the seller, I have a buyer for your home. Now let's look at that for a minute. Is that a lie? Is it a fib? Is it a white lie? Is it a stretch of the truth? I have a buyer for your home. Well, the fact is that realtors do have a buyer for your home. Maybe not specifically right then at that particular point in time, but they do work with lots of buyers. You see, your home gets listed on the multiple listing service, which is where all the realtors go when they're looking for homes that fit what their buyers are looking to buy. And every realtor, if they're calling themselves a realtor, usually belongs to a multiple listing service. So there are thousands of buyers out there that they can reach out to find that buyer for your home. So when a realtor says, I have a buyer for your home, it's kind of true. Maybe not right then and there at that moment, but if you look at the numbers and you look at the statistics, in most cases, the realtor will find a buyer for your home and get it sold by using sources like the multiple listing service. One of the other ones that came up is they'll say, my services are free to buyers. Now, let's look at that for a minute. When you hire a realtor to sell a home, you sign a listing agreement. You negotiate the commission, and the realtor then does their marketing, whatever it might be, to find a buyer. When you're a buyer and you hire a realtor, first thing you're going to do is you're going to meet with that realtor and you're going to discuss what your wants and your needs are in a home you need to purchase. You're also going to get yourself pre-qualified for a mortgage so you know what price range you're in. Now, you'll sign what's called a buyer representation agreement. This is a contract between the realtor and you of the buyer. In that buyer representation agreement, it says that in most cases, and it usually is pretty true, folks, the buyer's agent, the one that's representing you, the buyer, is compensated through the seller's agreement with the selling agency. It's a co-broker agreement where a percentage of the commission that the seller is paying to the selling agent goes to the buyer's agent. Now, depends on how you look at that, because if you look at the math, technically the commission that's being paid is factored into the sales price of the home. So you as the buyer are indirectly paying the buyer's agent commission, because when you purchase the home, the price that you're paying is what the seller is going to pay the commission on, and then part of that commission goes to your buyer's agent. It's a little difficult to understand the way the mathematics work, but when a realtor says my services are free to you, it's inaccurate in a number of different ways if you look at the math. However, it's very true because you don't pay any upfront fees. You don't have to pay a retainer. You don't have to pay a fee to your buyer's agent. And a lot of the things that they will do, they do on the idea that you're eventually going to purchase a home. And by the way, folks, realtors don't get paid. They make no money whatsoever unless they complete the job and the home is closed on. The third thing I wanted to talk about is they come up with the claim of it's proven that agents sell more homes. I had just mentioned earlier the National Association of Realtors 2016 Buyer and Seller Report has proven statistically, as it does every year, when interviewing folks who have sold their home, how their home was sold, 89% had reported that their home was sold through a realtor. This is the part of the show I call the real estate mailbag. It's my opportunity to answer questions that are emailed to us here at the Real Estate Show, asked to me as a realtor, or even discussed when I'm out and about with other realtors at different events. The question that came in on an email was, I'm putting my home on the market. What are the simple things I can do to help make my home appeal against the other homes that are out there? Well, I'll answer that very simply. I have always relied on getting other opinions. You know, you live in your home, you're used to your home, you're used to its smells, you're used to its sounds. You may have done a few things over the years to update your home, but you're kind of skewed or prejudiced because you live in the home. One of the techniques I've always said is have realtors come in and take a look at your home. Have a friend come into the home and tell you what they see. They also can be a great source of giving you some ideas on what to do in getting your home ready to go on the market. My name is Rick Naples. I'm a realtor. I thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.